Everyone, I'm Tony Phillips, a member of the congregation at Aldrich Parish Church, and it's my task to bring you today's Wednesday Word. I have for many years tried to incorporate in my daily routine a quiet time to pray and read the Bible. To help with this, I use daily Bible study notes, of which I shall say more later. Recently, these notes have focused my attention on the book of Habakkuk. The events he describes seem to have parallels with many of today's world problems. Habakkuk is generally regarded as one of the minor prophets. This may be because his book is only 3 chapters long. He lived in Judah at around 650 to 600 BC. This was a time when the Babylonian Empire, which is today's Iraq, was growing in power and becoming a threat to surrounding countries, including Judah. In the first 4 verses of chapter 1, Habakkuk had been asking God why he was allowing the wickedness and injustice prevalent in Judah at that time to go unpunished. He just couldn't understand it. God's response was that he intended to use the emerging Babylonian Empire as his tool to punish Judah by invasion. This is in chapter 1 verse 6. This was more than Habakkuk could accept, and he remonstrates with God along the lines of, "How can you allow the much more evil Babylonians to be your tool to punish the people of Judah, who are nowhere near as bad?" An example of this is in chapter 1 verse 13, where Habakkuk says, "Why are you silent when the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves?" God answers Habakkuk in chapter 2 in no uncertain manner. Verses 2 and 3 effectively say that when the time is right, he will take steps to punish the aggressor, i.e. Babylon. In fact, it was some 60 years later that the Babylonian Empire was overthrown. When we look at history, we can see a similar picture of God's hand at work in destroying other evil empires, such as Egypt, Greece, Rome, etc. Chapter 2, verse 20 sums it up, where it is said, "The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." In chapter 3 we see where Habakkuk realises that God is in control, just as he has been in earlier similar situations. Bringing matters up to date, do we have parallels in today's world? I believe we do. Not a day goes by, it seems, when we hear on the news of atrocities and persecutions such as obviously the very recent takeover by the Taliban in Afghanistan, and then there's the persecution of the Uyghur people in China, civil war in Sudan and South Sudan, Russian incursions into the Crimea, expulsion of some tribes in Myanmar, and of course closer to home we're also getting crimes against individuals on a regular basis. But the message for us is that God is in control, just as he was in Habakkuk's day. To reinforce our confidence in this, we need to spend time reading and understanding God's word, the Bible. I said at the beginning that I use daily Bible study notes, and for me this is an important and very worthwhile discipline, both for learning God's word and keeping in close contact with him. Using these Bible study notes is not for everyone, and from past personal experience I know that it can become a chore, which if it does, entirely defeats the purpose of doing it. But whether it's through notes, tapes, CDs, or simply opening God's word on a regular basis, let me encourage you to grow closer to him and to Jesus day by day by regularly reading a portion of the Bible.